What's up, Knicks fans? We are so excited to announce that this summer, Fanatics Fest is returning to New York City, taking over the Javits Center from Thursday, July 16th to Sunday, July 19th. Meet your favorite athletes from every major league, including current New York Knicks like Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and Knicks legend Patrick Ewing. Catch live podcasts and panels featuring some of the biggest names in sports while experiencing interactive activations from top leagues and brands. You can grab exclusive merch and discover one-of-a-kind memorabilia from sports and entertainment. Buy, sell, and trade collectibles with hundreds of top dealers. Connect with fans around the world who share your passion for sports. Tickets are on sale now at fanaticsfest.com, and when you use promo code KNICKSFILM10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off your purchase. It's an extra day of the world's #1 sports fan festival coming together under one roof, and you don't want to miss it.
All right. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook, where we are here to talk about the most annoying loss of the season, a loss that I am frankly pretty disgusted by. That was the I don't want to hear about great game, Pacers shooting, Pacers get up to play the Knicks at the Garden. That was a fuck around and find out game from the opening tip, pretty much right up until the end. That was a fuck around and find out game. Look, this Pacers team has some real guys on it, as we know. For 3 years now, I've been very upfront about how this team petrifies me. They petrified me in the 23-24 season. They petrified me last season, and they still petrify me now, as they should every Knicks fan. And you better believe they are going to be a force to be reckoned with next year when they get Zoo and Halliburton, and God forbid they keep this draft pick, but that's a conversation for a different day. They have some real dudes like Siakam, Nembhard, Nesmith, McConnell. Like, it does not get any realer than those four. And, you factor in the coaching, Carlisle, obviously one of the best. And you factor in that, like, when you talk about NBA franchises that are basketball factories now and that are just like, they just know how to churn out pretty solid NBA role players, probably do have to mention Indiana as much as any other team, and that was obviously one of the stories of the game. Pacers bench making big contributions, really throughout the evening, just looking at the bench scoring here for them. Jay Huff, 10 points, McConnell, 13, Kobe Brown, 8, Ben Shepherd, 10. And then you look at the Knicks bench, and they had 18 points between all four guys, five guys, because Kolek actually had a couple of seconds there. So, yeah, one of the stories of the game. But, like, again, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear about no OG and no Mitch and no Deuce, although, yes, that ties directly into the fact that this Knicks team can still look awfully, awfully thin if you just get, like it was tonight, 3 of their rotation players out. Jose Alvarado, an unfortunate Garden debut for him. He's supposed to be he was supposed to be their 6th best player tonight and didn't really contribute much at all. Mo had a moment, but, Huck Porty and Jose had that one pick and roll in the fourth quarter, but got nothing from the bench. But this is on the starters. This is on the starters. And I'm not putting it on any one guy more than any other guy. Every single one of them came out with the defensive intensity of, we're playing a 13-win team, and we're 26 hours from the All-Star break, and let's just come out, we'll hit some shots, and we'll out offense this Indiana team, which came into tonight as the whatever they were, 29th ranked offense in the league. And that is just the ultimate sign of disrespect to an opponent. Like, there are opponents in the league that if you're going to come out and you're going to play like semi-serious basketball, you're going to get a win, provided you have like anywhere close to decent shooting luck. There are some really embarrassing situations going on in the league, which is why like this is not the worst loss of the Knicks season. You had the Kings loss, you had obviously the Mavs loss, you had, the first Pistons loss. I'm sure there's another one or two that I'm forgetting here. You had a bunch of bad ones where there was a real like no show out of the gate. This wasn't a no show out of the gate. That's going one step too far. But again, you're playing these dudes. You're playing like if you see Siakam and Nembhard and Nesmith on the other side of the floor, and you see Rick Carlisle manning the other sideline, like, you better take that shit seriously. You cannot look at their record. And, credit to Mike Breen for pointing out that the Pacers have been now an above 500 team over their last, whatever it is, 15, 16, 17 games. Because it's like they have talent. They've had just a bunch of injuries all year long. But that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse because, at the end of the day, like we've had so many fucking conversations this year about, what is this team and do they have what it takes to make it through 3 playoff rounds and get to a finals? And like, I think with their defensive stretch recently, like they've answered a lot of those questions and we know what the answers are. If they are healthy and they are coming out, playing like they are capable of playing at both ends of the floor, like, yeah, they could beat anyone. But there also is a lot of season left to get through. And now they got a tough back-to-back, obviously, going into Philly tomorrow night. That's far from a guaranteed win. They're going to be all freaking dead tired. And that is probably one of the 3 or 4 top teams in the league that you do not want to be dead tired against, especially when you're going down and playing on their home floor. I know there's obviously always a lot of Knicks fans down there, but still, they got to travel tonight, the whole thing. And you got to see a lot of season left to go. And like, I hate to make this about like, this loss could come back to bite the Knicks in the ass, but that's probably my top headline from this game is this loss can come back to bite the Knicks in the ass. I went through the schedule with Jeremy last night and I did it the rest of the schedule. And I did it in the context of like, the Detroit being the number 1 seed and the Knicks like trailing them by, well, now it's what, 6 games. And what was I going to say? So, because Jeremy was like, yeah, I don't think it's, a guarantee that Detroit's going to be the 1 seed. So I'm like, all right, well, let's take a look at it. I went through the Knicks schedule and I went through the Detroit schedule and I was like, I don't see a realistic possibility. But in going through the rest of the Knicks schedule, I think it was 29 games. Now it's 28. And I was like, they got 17 games against like real teams. And then they got 12 games or so that they should win, if they go out and they play hard. This was one of the games. And they didn't win it. Now, does it mean, anything other than this one night? No. But you look at the standings. There's Boston with 19 losses. There's the Knicks with 20 losses. There's the Cavs with 21 losses. And then, it's like you keep going down. Like Raps 22, Sixers 23, Magic 24. And then there's a drop-off. But, like, you're 4 up on the play-in in the loss column. I don't think for a second they're going to fall down to the play-in. I don't even think they're going to fall out of the top 4. But, like, are you sure that, like, if you're the Knicks, you feel comfortable potentially falling into, like, the 4-5 matchup? I'm not really looking forward to that. I'm not sure I want to be facing Detroit in the second round. I mean, if they get that far. And games like this are reminders, like, we do have to caveat every conversation about this team for the rest of the season with if they get that far. Don't matter how deep into the playoffs you're talking about. Because this team, for as much as the end of the comeback at the end of the fourth quarter is in their DNA, for as much as that, the fakest freaking Knick comeback of all time in the end of the overtime period is part of their DNA. No, they never quit. No, they never say die. That, yes, all of that is part of their DNA. So is the kind of maddening inconsistency. And if they came out tonight and they defended like this was a game that really mattered from the outset, we're not sitting here having this conversation. We could quibble about certain guys on all I'm sure there's going to be some Towns thoughts for as much as they don't get into overtime without Towns, not only because the 2 free throws and the hustle to get the offensive rebound, but also he was responsible for getting the Knicks a second opportunity actually on it was the previous possession, which I'm like, it's all running together now. So I don't even know if they ended up scoring on that. Oh yeah, no, sorry. And then, that's right. That's when Bridges was fouled and he hit the 2 free throws. So yeah, that did matter. Look, we could talk about Towns tonight. It was a very, very up and down game for him, with more downs than ups, for as much as the ups at the end of the overtime or the end of regulation were good. I like, Brunson has a 40 piece, and yet, look, I could sit here and I'm sure it's going to come up that like too much hero ball at the end, or really the end of the fourth quarter and like throughout the entirety of the overtime period. And I think that's absolutely fair. The counter to that is that's worked a lot. It's why he has a trophy on his mantle from last season. It's that's just more often than not going to be what the Knicks go to. And the Pacers, to their credit, they were not doubling. And if you're not going to double Jalen Brunson at the end of a game, like, well, he's gonna find a way to take the shot. And he had a couple makes, but missed more than he made in the clutch. So Captain Clutch didn't really come through tonight. Landry Shamet, 4 of 11 from 3. The percentage is fine. Like, I thought he had a lot of good looks. Like, he didn't really come up big tonight. Like, I thought defensively he probably gave you as much as anyone out there in the starting 5. But I don't even want to say that, because collectively those guys just they just really didn't bring it. Hart ends up with the triple double. Woohoo! It's like I could look at all these. The one guy that I actually I thought was the closest thing to a clutch player in this game was Mikal Bridges, because there were stretches where their offense was a little hit and touch and go, and Bridges just seemed like he came up with a lot of big shots throughout the game. Fourth quarter, certainly the big free throws in the fourth quarter as well. But again, offense wasn't the problem in this game. It really wasn't. We could sit here and complain about Towns' offensive fouls, and should Towns have been able to have more than 22 points against a team where they're guarding him with fucking Jay Huff and Micah Potter and whatnot. Yeah, but that conversation's nothing new. Like, we're 50, how many games into the season? 54 games in the season. And same thing we said after 4 games. Towns is still finding his way, so hopefully he finds, but I'm not putting this more on him than anybody else. This is all 5 of those starters have to own this one. They had a chance to set the tone. It wasn't even just the first quarter. I actually thought, so they ended the first half on a 20-8 run, which was, and I thought they really actually showed some really good energy during that run. They showed some really good energy on the 20-8 run to end the first half, go into halftime with a 6-point lead. Like, you come out in the third quarter, like, you really, really give a fuck. Like, you really give a fuck. This game's over. You go up by 15, 16, like, bench, and it's not going to be the case. And yet, what happens? The Pacers score. Well, they come out and there's a 3-pointer within 20 seconds of the end of halftime, which was just like, of course, that shot to me, and I forget who the closest defender was. I should have written it down. That shot to me was so emblematic of this whole night, where it's Quentin Jackson, right? So it's like, who the fuck is Quentin Jackson? Well, I hope the Knicks know who Quentin Jackson is after tonight, because he's one of, 8 Pacers that scored in double figures? Yeah, and another guy finished, and Kobe Brown had 8. And so it's like, yeah, it's Quentin Jackson. Well, he's an NBA player. You can't leave him open and leave him comfortable. And then he hits that 3. Bridges makes a layup at the other end, and then Brunson actually extends the lead to 7. And then the Pacers rattle off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight points and tie the game. And it was nip and tuck for the rest of the way. Brunson comes down, hits a 3. Guess who hits a 3 at the other end? Quentin Jackson. And look, I get it. Like, you don't probably expect Quentin Jackson to go 4 or 6 from deep. You don't expect anyone to go 4 of 8 from deep, which is what Nembhard went. Ben Shepherd 2 or 3. But like, the Pacers shot 40%. It's not like Pacers shot 55% from 3 tonight. Shot 40%. They're an NBA team. You give an NBA team those sorts of looks, guess what? 40% is going to happen. Like, that's not crazy. And like, yeah, are the Knicks usually going to shoot more than 30% from 3? Yeah, of course they are. They're a good 3-point shooting team. But like, again, 30% isn't. I'll put it this way: it's not what Boston shot the other on Sunday. It's not whatever the fuck Boston 17%, whatever the hell they shot. Like 30%, you can win a game shooting 30% from 3. And the Knicks have been getting a ton. We haven't really talked about it because it's been fun getting all these wins. But like, the Knicks have been getting a ton of shooting luck over this nice stretch, this 9-1 stretch. And that shooting luck came back to bite them a little bit. But like, that should not have been what decided this game. And the fact that is what decided this game, they should frankly be a little embarrassed about it. I'm not. Again, I'm trying not to lose my shit here, because ultimately, like, there's a lot of teams that are just like dying to get in the freaking All-Star break, and I know the Knicks are not the only one. And then on top of that, like, yeah, they are missing guys, the whole thing. But I just like, this East is going to come down to the wire. And that's why I started off by saying it's the most annoying loss of the season. I'm just annoyed. I'm annoyed that they now have to have this freaking thing on their resume, this loss. And more than anything else, this fucking Pacer team, I hate them so much. I mean, I have all the respect in the world for them. I just hate them so much. They have my undying respect. Like absolute eternal respect in every single way. Coaching, leadership, culture, locker room, like right down the line, all of their players, like just absolute. Like I know this year's been a brutal year if you're a Pacer fan coming off of the finals and then the way you lost the finals, but it's just like, I don't know. There's a consistency about them generally and how they go about their business. And there's certainly consistency when they come in and play the Knicks in the Garden. And you want to talk about a team that has just zero fear when they walk through the doors of that building. That's like a home away from home for them. And you know what? The Knicks should have known that. And it would have been really nice for the Knicks to actually take that as like a challenge and being like, all right, we know you don't have your full squad, but we're going to take this opportunity to like show you whose building this is tonight. And they didn't do that. They didn't come close to doing that. So frustrating, annoyed. See if it comes back to bite them in the ass. I hope it doesn't, but really not thrilled with this one. Really not thrilled with this one. So there we go. All right. Let's go through our best bets, which are mostly good. And of course, I was the anchor holding us down. Silly me. Our best bets, of course, presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. Silly me for thinking the Knicks were going to come out of the gate and take this one seriously, because I took Knicks giving 3.5 points in the first quarter. I'm like, 3.5 points. They're going to be up by 10 after the first quarter. And I really did believe that. I really, shame on me for coming into this game with a fair amount of confidence. I thought they would take care of business. I thought they would take the game seriously, and they didn't. And that was my fault. And it's a shame because I'm the one holding us back from our parlay. Mensa took Landry Shamet over 2.5 points in the first quarter. That hit. And then Sean very smartly took, with no Karl Anthony Towns playing tonight, no Mitchell Robinson playing tonight, took Karl Anthony Towns over 12.5 rebounds. Cat had, 14 rebounds. So we cleared that pretty comfortably. So 2 out of 3, a lot of 2 out of 3s for us over the course of the year. Wish we had a couple more perfect parlays, but we'll take 2 out of 3. Not the worst thing in the world. Those are our best bets presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. And all right, yeah, let's get on to what I'm sure is going to be a fun-filled conversation with the super chats. All righty. First off, Ben Kim Gervey. Hello, Ben. It's great to hear from you. I hope you're well. Not fair, John. Huff is on Indy, and there's a small ref, James Capers. And as we all know, little Jimmy Capers loves that rascal Huff. Clear bias. I'm glad we could start off with a little bit of levity. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate you, man. Next up, Chris Dayton. Chris, I owe you an email. I've been a busy couple of days. Cat with 20 and 12 so far, so I don't even know when this was, and doing all the things that cost you a game but don't show up in the box score. Shake my head. This was my feeling right up until the last 6 seconds of regulation. And I actually did think if there was one stretch, but I don't even want to go through it, because again, I said, like, I'm not trying to put this on one person. And yet there was a in the third quarter, and I'll pull it up exactly when it was. So, yeah, okay. So after the aforementioned second Quentin Jackson 3, it was a tie game. And then the next 4 Knick possessions, Cat offensive foul, where it was originally called a defensive foul, and then it was overturned to an offensive foul, or maybe it was originally a no call, and then it was overturned to an offensive foul. Then he missed a running layup that was kind of reminiscent of some of the out of control layups he's had for most of the season. Then he missed a 3. Then actually Hart made a 3. And then, so it was 4 out of 5 possessions. And then it was an offensive foul. And then he needed to leave the game. When did he leave the game? No, he left the game a little bit later. But that was 4 out of 5 possessions. And by the end of that last possession that I just mentioned, the Pacers, or the Knicks, had a 1-point lead on that Hart 3. But the Pacers there, they scored from the 9:06 mark of the third quarter until the 6:33 mark. Pacers only got 1 basket, which in this game was like a freaking eternity. And I really thought the Knicks had a chance to maybe get a little momentum there, and it didn't happen. And then you had the moment of his 5th foul in the fourth quarter where Mike Breen says what we're all thinking. Towns has to stop complaining. And it's just look. I really do struggle to be what I think is fair with this player sometimes, and so I'm just not going to say anything else. But it was a frustrating Towns game. Thanks, Chris. And then another one from Chris. All is not forgiven, but his hustle end game is A+. You can never knock the hustle with Towns. Can't knock the hustle. Yeah, no, like he always hustles. Does he always try super hard on defense? No, but that's this team, so I'm not singling him out for that. But he always hustles. He knows when it's a big spot and he gives it his all. So it's not, it's just look at it this way. If you were to match I don't even it doesn't even matter to me how many points they all scored. If you were to match the Pacers top 4 in this game, so Siakam, Nembhard, Nesmith, even though Quentin Jackson outscored him a lot, but Siakam, Nembhard, Nesmith, great defense, by the way. Siakam, Nembhard, Nesmith, and TJ McConnell. If you were to match those 4 with Towns, Hart, Bridges, and Brunson, which 4 were better? I don't know. I think it's pretty close. And it shouldn't be close. Like the Knicks top 4 should be comfortably better than those top 4. Maybe not comfortably, but they should be better. Should be better. Thanks, Chris. Deadwords. What's going on, Deadwords? Forget the stupid fouls and dumb mistakes. Cat's inconsistency from 3 will be this team's downfall in the playoffs. He's got to find a shot from deep. All of the stuff that Benji has said this, and I should have said this at the top, but my mind was on this game. Shout out to Benji Ritholtz, our colleague, dear member of our faculty who lost his mother yesterday. And, I know there's been already an outpouring of support amongst Knicks fans everywhere. I just want to, I've said my piece online, but just our thought, our thoughts, prayers, everything are just with Benji. He's having as you might expect, very close with his mother. So I just want to say that. I should have said that at the top. I'm reminded of something Benji has said, and Benji says a lot of smart things, both about basketball and otherwise. But one of the things that he has said repeatedly this year is if Cat simply is having his normal season in terms of shooting efficiency, we're not having, our conversation. Maybe it's not that we're not having all these other conversations. We're not having them in anywhere close to the same fashion that we're having them. And he is, tonight he was 8 of 17 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, 5 of 6 from the line, which is how you get to 22 points on 17 shots. And credit to him for that, but 5 turnovers. And he fouled out. He's having the least efficient shooting season of his career. It's just the reality. And they absolutely need it. This team is not going to the finals if Karl Anthony Towns is going to be a 52% effective field goal percentage guy. Like last year, he was, 58 point something, I think. It was, his best offensive season of his career. And this season, it's been very different. So, and I don't put that all on him, by the way. I don't know what percentage goes on him, but certainly not all. And if it's most, it's close. Thanks, Edwards. Hush Zoo, pass the ball, JB, hijack the offense in the 4th. Yeah, again, I said that at the top. He's done it before. We'll do it again. It's not hijacking. It's they're guarding him one-on-one. They guard him one-on-one, and you don't bring 2 to the ball. Like, you have 2 choices there. You could run your stuff, or you could put it in the hands of the clutch player of the year. And, JB and the Knicks are not the only person in a close game late who's just going to put the ball in the hands of their best player and say, go. And then it's a matter of will teams bring 2? And the credit to JB, when teams bring 2, he makes the right play. Almost invariably. And when teams don't bring 2, he's going to try to get a shot up, just like any other great player at the end of a game. This is not unique. So, another one from Hush. What an absolute selfish game from Brunson. This is where you lose. Hush, this is the stuff where you lose me. I get being frustrated, but anyway, I get he takes this matchup personally, but my Lord, just looked off everyone in the fourth. The loss is on him. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. The loss is not on him any more than it's on any of his teammates, number one. Number two, where are you getting this from? That he looked, first of all, who else was hitting shots? No one, everybody missed good looks down the stretch of this game. Shaman had looks, Bridges had looks after those middies. I don't even know if Towns wanted to shoot, but it's you cannot have it both ways, Hush. You can't have it both ways. You can't love and praise Jalen Brunson when he does good things, and then when the shots don't go down, he's selfish and the loss is on him. This is the stuff that drives me up a fucking wall. We have been gifted this basketball savior. I'm not saying he's above criticism. I've criticized Jalen Brunson plenty, and I will criticize him tonight too for his defense. He didn't come out and defend like if this game mattered. There was a possession that he had, and I forget when it was. It actually, come to think of it, it was after he hit that three that I mentioned in the third, and the second Quentin Jackson three, and Quentin spaced to the corner, and Brunson was lackadaisical getting over to the corner, and there was like a brush screen, but he didn't make it a point to go pursue. And the ball got to Quentin Jackson, and Brunson wasn't there. And Quentin Jackson hit a corner three. Give me all the smoke you want for that shit. And you can point out, Brunson was a little bit too much. But, when you get into Brunson's selfish, and he did this because he took this personally, and the loss is on him, it's just, that's unfair. It's unnecessary. And I just flatly don't agree with it, Hush. I'm sorry. I don't. I get you're frustrated, but we all get frustrated sometimes. And I got to say, among all of our super chatters, and we have some really fucking volatile people that get very high and very low. You are as volatile as anyone. Thank you, Hush. Next up, Z Raheem, too much JB hero ball. Offense was too predictable. All right. Again, I'm not disagreeing with the concept. There was a lot of hero ball down the stretch, and it was pretty predictable. What I'm trying to push back on is, again, they were single covering him. Show me the possession where he's going 1-on-2. And if they're, you want to tell me that he should have made more of an effort to get the ball to the screener if there was a momentary 2-on-1. I hear that, and I'm okay with that. I also just I've seen this guy come through so many times. The fact that we're gonna kill him tonight over everybody else, no, I can't get there. Thanks, Z. Jason, that was pathetic. Disgusted with the performance. Yeah, well, me and you both. Music in my pocket. Number 40. No 40 wins before 20 losses. Yeah, I saw that going around on Twitter the other day. I did not think that there was any universe where this team was going to win another 6 straight games. Doesn't mean they're not going to win the championship. I don't know. I think it's pretty long odds that they're going to win the championship anyway. Can you explain what it is about this scheme that leaves so many 3-point shooters open? I just don't think they defended hard tonight. They've changed their scheme, Chris. They've changed their scheme. They've adjusted their scheme, and I think there's been a lot fewer 3-point shooters left open. Over the last, whatever it is, 10 games. I just think they didn't get up on their guys tonight. And I think part of the reason, by the way, they didn't get up on their guys tonight is that they know the Pacers have in Siakam and Nembhard and Nesmith a little bit, they have 4 guys that if you get up on them, they like that's what are the Knicks bad at? The Knicks are bad at holding their ground on and getting up in guys and not letting them blow by. And it takes an incredible amount of commitment and it takes an incredible amount of dedication and effort to stand your ground, get up on shooters, and still not let them take you off the dribble. The thing with the Pacers is they have more guys who could take you off the dribble and really penetrate the defense than probably anyone in the league when they're healthy. Now, obviously, they're missing Halliburton, who's as good at that as anyone. But like Siakam, Nembhard, Nesmith, I haven't even mentioned McConnell. Like all of these dudes. And they just traded away one of their premier Nick killers in Benedict Mathurin for a guy who didn't even play tonight. And then like just they didn't stand their ground tonight. Or they didn't, let me rephrase that. They didn't attempt to stand their ground tonight. They didn't attempt to stand their ground tonight because they were giving too much airspace. And then when it got later in the game and they did attempt to stand their ground more, I thought they fouled way too much. Pacers got to the line 27 times tonight. It's too many. Thanks, Chris. Mr. Fabro, Brunson getting a lot of heat for how he closed, but Cat was probably worse tonight. Well, look, people are always going to hate on the best. With much power comes much responsibility, or however the quote goes. So it's the nature of the beast. I don't think there's personally a conversation about which between Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns was worse tonight. I know Brunson took 31 shots and Cat took 17 shots, but here's the thing. Here's the other part of it. Where other than when I thought there was one attempt from Brunson tonight that was a really bad attempt. And I thought it was when he drove on Nesmith and it got blocked. And I think that was pretty sure that was in the overtime period. Other than that, go back and watch the shots that Brunson. Now I'm annoyed. Go back and watch the shots that Brunson took. These are shots that he has hit countless times throughout his career as a Knick. He missed a lot of them tonight. He missed a lot of them tonight. He's human. It happens. But to make this, into something that and again, I'm acknowledging there was probably a little bit too much of it. I'm sure there was a pass here or there that could have been thrown. I'm not saying this was like everything was perfect for him. It wasn't. The process, you always want to look at the process, and you always, when you lose to a team like this, and you have opportunities in late game situations, it's always going to be questionable process here and there. Yeah, Mike Brown, perfect quote afterwards on the defensive performance tonight. We just have to get better with our physicality first and our communication second. I completely agree with him. There was a complete and total lack of physicality tonight. That's what we should be talking about, not fucking Brunson missing some shots that he's hit a ton of times. Thanks, Mr. Fabro. I am AK Legend. What's up? Something about Indiana I just don't like to my core. Win tomorrow and it'll be fine. Now excuse me while I check my heart rate. Yeah. I wasn't planning on drinking tonight, and I poured myself a beverage at the start of the overtime period. Win tomorrow and all is fine. Look, you asked me before tonight, would I have signed for 1 out of 2? I probably would have signed for 1 out of 2. I would have thought about it at least. I don't know if I would have signed for it. Probably would have been greedy. Here's the problem. They're going to be on the second night of a back-to-back. If they do come out and defend at a more commensurate level tomorrow, doesn't even guarantee them a win because that team's better. Thanks, AK. Dom, what's going on, Dom? All wins and losses are equal, but some losses are more equal than others. Great Animal Farm quote. Love that book. I haven't read that book in a long time. My wife reread it for a class at some point during our marriage. I was a little jealous of her. Maybe I'll have to go read it at some point. Thanks, Tom. Sam G, what's going on, Sam? Quite an embarrassing loss. Yep. Especially at home to a team dealing with injuries. Shout out Micah Potter, fellow Ohio State Buckeye. Yeah, this team had 3 road wins all year. And I know one of them was in OKC, as they said on the broadcast, but like, if you're a team with real aspirations, you can only afford so many losses to these bottom rung teams. And it's very annoying. I shouldn't be sitting here thinking like, well, if OG had played and if Mitch had played, I guess we're doing the Mitch, the injury management plan all the way through the playoff. I mean, at this point, you might as well do it all the way through the playoff until the playoffs, because there's no back-to-back in the playoffs. So, but we want to talk about a guy could have used his energy tonight. I think the Knicks had 8 offensive rebounds. So, yeah. Thanks, Sam. Bill Peterfriend, this loss is unacceptable. I don't think anybody should accept this loss. I don't think the Knicks should accept this loss. I don't think the coach should accept this loss. Like, long season, the whole thing. Got a couple quotes from Brunson here. Offensively, it wasn't the problem tonight. I mean, it's hard to disagree. And then Brunson also, regardless of what their record is, they're great. They do everything well. They play hard. Yeah. 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 Thanks, Bill. Hush with another one. Really annoyed with the loss because 2 and 4 in the standings are so close. And Cleveland's schedule is a cakewalk after the All-Star break. Must win tomorrow. Hope OG suits up. Well, look, there are no... You know when there's going to be a must win? When they are in the playoffs and the other team has 3 wins in the series. Then it's a must win. First thing I said at the top, the standings are like very real. Cleveland's coming. Like, I think it is. If this OG injury thing, and again, you can't trust the Knicks at all when it comes to this stuff. What was it? A toenail avulsion? Whatever the fuck that is. When it comes to injury stuff, you can't trust them. I don't think there's a prayer that OG plays tomorrow. Like, he's been out this long, and there's 1 game before the break. Given how this team has operated this season as far as injuries, I don't think OG's playing. Mitch will play, so that's good. You know, not that Huck Porty was like awful tonight, but like he adds so little. But like, yeah, like it is absolutely in the cards that the Knicks we could be sitting here and we could be talking about the Knicks are entering the last weekend of the season trying to avoid becoming the 4th seed. It's like it is not out of the question at all. Thanks, Hush. Another one from Hush. You're glutton for punishment here. Outside of JB's defense, outside of JB, the defense was putrid. Again, it's the main culprit. Scored 100 and how many points tonight? 34? Mike Brown played Jose too much, in my opinion, just outmatched by TJ and Nemhard. I hope we get Highsmith or Boucher. Just need more size, to be honest. Again, like I look, I'm excited about whoever they get on the buyout market. I think whoever they get on the buyout market may play for them in some spots. The fact that they're potentially relying on that player is a little disconcerting. I didn't have an issue with Mike Brown sticking with Jose because who else is he going to play? You know, like first night of a back-to-back, Bridges played 43 minutes, Hart played 41, Brunson played 42, Shaman played 38, Towns 32 because of foul trouble. All right. Thanks, Hush. All right, we got one in response to my little rant before from Hush. So one-on-one, it's a green light to just put up every shot in the fourth. Rewatch the last 4 minutes stretch. His process was terrible. I'm very grateful of JB. Well, okay, good. That's a start. I will rewatch the last 4 minutes at some point. Not tonight. I will rewatch the last 4 minutes. My point to you is, and another one from Hush. It was a selfish game. One game, Macri. Stop it. I disagree. I'm not going to stop it. We got some more from Hush. Let's just get all the Hush Zoo chats out of the way. I sing JB's praises the most on your super chats. Yeah, but then if you're, let me get to the last one. It's all from Hush. The issue, you take my critique as like a general whole critique of JB. I'm simply critiquing this one game. He was selfish. Rewatch that fourth. I don't agree with you. That guy cares about winning more than anything. Cares about winning more than any player on the roster. He cares about winning as much as any player in the league. Selfishness is when you put yourself before the team. Jalen Brunson never puts himself before the team. His decision-making. You know what I think you need to do, Hush? I think you need to go get yourself a fucking dictionary and look up the meaning of the word selfish. Jalen Brunson was not selfish. Jalen Brunson may have made some poor decisions. Jalen Brunson's execution was poor. Selfishness is putting yourself before the team. He never puts himself before the team. He's not capable of it. That's what makes him Jalen Brunson. That's why when you talk about I praise Jalen Brunson as much as anyone, that's the main reason why you should be praising him, because he's one of the best leaders in the NBA, and he only cares about winning. Is he always going to win? No. Is he always going to make the right decisions? No. We could talk about the last 4 minutes. Was there a pass here or a pass there that he could have made? There's always going to be a pass here or there that he should have made. You know when he could have made a pass? The last game these two teams played in Indiana, when he sank that three. That was a contested three. Well, but Jalen Brunson shot it because he's selfish and he wanted to have his moment against the Pacers, right? He needed it to be his moment. Couldn't be anybody else's moment. It was going to be the ball in his hands, his moment, win or lose. Selfish ball player, right? All those times we hit all those big shots, all those clutch baskets against tough coverage, right? All those shots, right? You have any idea how many shots he hit with a hand in his face and with guys draped all over him? Every single one of them was selfish, right, Hush? Because it's all about him. It's all about what JB wants, right? Like, this is such fakakta nonsense from you, dude. You make shots or you miss shots. Brunson's process is by and large pretty similar. Wins or losses. It's about sometimes you hit him and sometimes you miss him. Like, stop trying to justify these ridiculous statements that you're making. Guy didn't have a good game. It happens. Next. Oscar, what's going on, Oscar? Tough one. What's your favorite food spots in New York City? I'll give you the same answer I've been given since I was 10, which is go to L&B Spumoni Gardens in Brooklyn, and you'll thank me later. And once you go there once, you'll probably not going to want to eat anyplace else. And get the Sicilian. It should be obvious because everyone in front of you online will be getting the Sicilian, but get the Sicilian. Thanks, Oscar. Haitian, what's going on, Haitian? Poor coaching in the fourth quarter and overtime. Too much JB. Cat didn't play well. Don't care what the stats say. Defensive intensity was there at times, but not a smart approach at all. Indy just looked like a higher IQ team. Yeah, I mean, look, the defensive approach being there at times was not good enough for me. Was not good enough for me. I wanted defensive intensity the whole game. As far as the coaching, I mean, you wanted Mike Brown to draw up some more stuff. He kind of told you in the preseason what his end of game plan is going to be. Give the ball to JB and get out of the way. Should that be different? I usually go by what I see from other teams, and that's how I judge my team. And I just end of game situations, as you know, Haitian, because I know you watch the league. Like, there's a lot of one-on-one. I think it ultimately comes down to, if you really want to be critical here, it's not that the Knicks don't run stuff. They do. Obviously, they run stuff. They've run a lot more stuff this year under Mike Brown than they ever did under Tom Thibodeau. Like real good stuff. Like for most of this game, think about how many times guys were springing open. Now, obviously, a lot of that was in transition, but still, I think the very best offenses, not the best offenses, because the Knicks are one of the best offenses, the most sophisticated offenses, are maybe able to run their stuff still at the end of games, and even then it's tough. The problem with the Knicks, and if you want to get on Jalen Brunson for not being a gifted passer, for that not being one of his main strengths, that's fine. That I'm here for, and I think that probably is a big reason why they don't run more stuff, quote unquote, in these situations, because that's not Brunson's strength. His strength is making shots, and they don't really have a gifted passer on their team other than Tyler Kolek, and I don't think we're putting Tyler Kolek in at the end of games. So I don't know. It's a little bit hard for me to critique Brown because I don't know what he's supposed to do, but look, Brunson's not perfect. I think it's as simple as that. But he's really good at what he's really good at. And tonight, the thing he's really good at, he wasn't very good at. So, thanks, Haitian. Bronx kicks for life. Cat with his atrocious offensive blunder. Shake my head. It was very annoying. Cat's night was very annoying. I'm not going to disagree with that. OG team, what's going on, man? Cat struggling against guys named Huff and Potter. We're so doomed. I'm not gonna lie. There was a part of me coming into tonight being like, "Oh, this be a good get well game for Cat." Not so much. Not so much. Mr. Virginia should have sat the stars and kept the minutes low if they were going to play shitty defense. Also, Brunson played too much hero ball. Consistent theme of the night. Everybody seems to think so. And again, it's when you get the results like you did tonight, of course, we're going to say it's too much. PQ from BK. Brunson's hero ball was not the move. I just don't think anything we got tonight from Brunson, other than the shots not going in, was markedly different than pick any other close game with this team over the last 3.5 years. It's easy to say after the fact that it's not the move because the guy misses the shots. It's very easy to say that. Again, I'm not saying it was perfect. It was not. I'm not saying there weren't passes he could have made or plays they could have run. They could have. But still. And then Stevens Guillaume, what's going on, Stevens? If there's a God, I hope this win cost the Pacers a top 3 pick. Our luck, it'll get them a top 3 pick. Because you never know how the freaking lottery gods work. I just have a very funny feeling they're going to get a top draft pick. It would be very lottery appropriate for a team that, like, quote unquote, tanks the right way to get it. Thanks, Stevens. Joseph Sokola, what's going on? Joseph, how are you? I am disgusted too, John. Thank you for the generosity, by the way. Not only should we have won, but with OT, we could lose 2 into the break. When does the phone it in stop? And Cat was pre-streak Cat with the stupid again. This team gives me agita. It was a very agita-inducing night, man. It was a very agita-inducing night. Look, they could have won this game by 30, and they could have still lost tomorrow. Like the fact that they went into overtime, I don't, they were probably dead tired even before that. Just it was frustrating all around. When does the phone it in stop? I mean, hopefully before the playoffs. I mean, look, last season, the playoffs, I'll give them that. They never you never once questioned their effort in the playoffs. I thought their execution was poor throughout the playoffs. We never questioned their effort. Their effort was always there. Their effort was always top notch, and that was up and down the roster. Everybody, to a man. We never questioned their effort, but regular season, different story. Unfortunately. PQ with another one. Blaming Cat tonight is crazy. Brunson played one of the worst defensive games I've ever seen, and the fourth quarter chucking. Yuck. I PQ respectfully disagree. I did not. And look, this is one of those things where I'm sure if I went and rewatched it, I would maybe feel differently. But I did not feel that Brunson's defensive performance was like over and above worse in terms of the effort level. That said, because of his deficiencies, he needs to give more effort than his teammates, than all of his teammates on defense, and he certainly wasn't doing that tonight. So if you want to criticize Brunson for his defense more than anybody else, I'll give you that. I think to say that it's crazy to blame Cat tonight on a night when he fouled out, had 5 turnovers, was 8 of 17 from the field, again, like had good looks, didn't hit him, and like had a really, really rough stretch, a couple really rough stretches, but a really rough stretch there in the third. And then, like, you know, like when he went to the bench with his 5th foul, like that really hurt his team. Like that's one of those ones where like your team needs you out there. Like Mitchell Robinson is not there tonight, and you got Ariel Hukporti behind you. Like your team needs you out there, and it just. So I can't sit here and be like blaming Cat's crazy. I'm not with you on that one. But I hear where you're coming from. Joseph with another one. JB slowing the game down to play hero ball was just as damaging as anything Cat did. I love Cat, but why abandon Brown's offense? It wasn't working. Defenses lock in at the end of these games. I get that they slowed it down. That I think is a more fair criticism, because that is a default that they do, what Brunson does to slow things down. I think I'll humor that. In terms of abandoning Brown's offense, it's like it's just a lot tougher to run stuff at the end of games when defenses are locked in. Like a lot of the stuff that they were getting earlier in the game, first of all, it came against the Pacers' worst defenders because it came against their bench. And a lot of that good stuff that they were getting in transition. You know, that's the other thing. Like, I don't know, did you felt like they were getting easy baskets there in the fourth quarter, and then they just like made a decision to stop getting those easy baskets? I don't know. I didn't really see it. Thanks, Joseph. All right. We're going to do Jonah's stat of the game. Stat of the game tonight is not a good one, as you might expect, because they lost. The stat of the night is 30, which was tied for the most fouls the Knicks have had in a game this season. It's only their 3rd time with more than 25 fouls. McCall tied his season high with 5. Mo had 4. Cat obviously fouled out. And then teams committing at least 30 fouls in a game this season are now 9 and 16. Yeah, great call, Jonah. I didn't even realize that they had 30 fouls, but what an awful combination. And look, you could tell me like, yeah, some of the fouls were intentional, like down the stretch or whatever. It doesn't matter. What a terrible combination that you allowed all those open threes or not heavily contested threes. And then on top of that, then it's like, oh, let's start playing hard on defense. And you couldn't even execute that. And then you just resort to fouling. It's not great. All right, we got a couple from Manny coming up here. Everybody getting their frustrations out. Manny Campos, the JB hero ball complaints are honestly disgusting. Where are these same morons when he's playing hero ball in the playoffs and winning series for us? Again, like Manny, I don't. I try not to call people names, although I fail in that effort a lot. I'm trying to get better at this because I have my biases. I skew negative towards Cat. I skew positive towards Brunson. Do I think that skewing has been somewhat earned? Yes, but I still try to be objective. I still try to judge every performance and every game on the merits. And again, it's impossible to sit here and be like, "Oh, Jalen Brunson did everything right in the last end of the game. He just missed shots," because that's not fair either. That's not fair either. He's human. He makes mistakes. I guarantee you there were passes he could have made that if you went back and watched and you look at passes he could have made, be like, "Oh, probably should have made that pass because then there was a skip to a corner 3 shooter or whatever." It's just, I guess I just get bothered with the phrasing and with like kind of the tone of some of the criticisms. But I've been saying this shit for 6 years. It's the same stuff that would drive me off a cliff with or up a wall with Tibbs. Not necessarily the criticisms themselves, but like, how people go about saying them. But that's me. I'm a stickler for details. Another one from Manny here. If people want, and thank you for the generosity, Manny, really. If people want someone to yell at, then blame the front office for not getting anyone who can score one-on-one and instead getting a big man who wants to play like a guard and a wing who avoids contact. Miss me with the JB hate and get a grip. So that's the other thing, right? And bad job by me not pointing out the obvious. The other thing about when you have, and let's call it like it is. The Pacers had 3 guys tonight, 4 guys, if you include McConnell. And I understand McConnell's not a 3-point threat, but like he's just so good on the inside of the arc, it doesn't even matter. They have 4 guys that could break you down off the dribble. I would say Nesmith is the weakest of those, but Nesmith is like a big physical guy, and he can get into you enough. Like he can get into the paint. So they have 4 guys that could break you down. To your point, the Knicks have 1. And what I've always, again, I am not going to sit here and pretend like the only way to gain advantages in the NBA is to have individual players who can break their defenders down off the dribble. That is not the only way. You can absolutely run creative stuff that people far smarter than me can diagram and point out and all this stuff. There's ways to do it. I've been watching basketball long enough to know that a lot of that shit becomes awfully difficult at the end of a close game when teams are locked in defensively. So oftentimes it does come down to, because if you have multiple guys that could break someone down off the dribble, it's like, all right, one guy gets a step and he could put up it's one-on-one coverage. He could put up a shot, but he knows if he kicks it to somebody else, well, that player that he kicks it to can also get a step. And then it's like, all right, someone gets a step. And then you know what you have all of a sudden? You have the Pacers offense last year, which no one could stop. The freaking Thunder couldn't stop it in the finals. And they're the greatest defense any of us have ever seen, because they had 4 guys on the floor a lot of the time that could break guys down. The Knicks have 1. Now, he's really good at it, but they have 1 guy. So when he gets maybe a little bit of an extra attention on a drive and there maybe is an opportunity to kick, well, that's not a guarantee. Now you're saying if you want to tell me trust the process, make the pass, even if you're not sure of the result, that's what trust is all about. Yeah. I think that's it's a conversation I guess I'd be more willing to have, and yet I don't know. I'm with you, Manny. I guess. Long and the short of it. Joseph, what's going on, Joseph? Uninspiring coaching from tip-off and poor crunch time. Brown was hired to beat Indy. Well, that's not why he was hired. I mean, he was hired to make the finals, but that's not specifically why he was hired because that would imply that that's why the last guy was fired. Always personal for New York fans. At least Tibbs was 24/7 serious. Yeah, I mean, Tibbs was a very serious guy, which is probably why he's not here anymore. It's a little too serious for some people, but that's neither here nor there. Look, Mike Brown, I'm not putting this on Mike Brown. His guys got to come out and play hard. Thanks, Joseph. Brock, what's going on, Brock? Sorry, but I can't take a team seriously that can't beat a team that is openly trying to tank this season. No excuse for it. Can't take these guys serious. Any Knicks fan anywhere who has issues taking these guys seriously, I guess I would just ask, well, what is your definition of taking them seriously? I take them seriously as a team that can make the finals. But if the fact that they could lose in the first round means you can't take them seriously, I'm not going to blame you. It's too much of this stuff. Thanks, Brock. Dan, what's going on, Dan? Not a good game. It happens. The one thing that's been striking to me is how much the performance drops off when guys are out. Beyond the obvious, why? I mean, they're thin. They're thin. I mean, again, they were without 3 of their top 7 tonight. No Mitch, no Deuce, no OG. That hurts. But to me, it was just the reason this came out of the blue is for 10 games now. I mean, put the Detroit game aside, but honestly, even the Detroit game, I really thought they came out and they defended at the beginning of the Detroit game. I really do. They've just been coming out with the right mentality on defense since the MLK Day game. And they just didn't have that mentality tonight, which is why I'm so annoyed. Because all they needed to do was come out with that mentality, and they didn't. And it's very frustrating. Thanks, Dan. Hush. Well, another one. He's back for more. Again, you take a critique of a game and make it a generality. We saw the fourth differently. As a whole, I know he's a selfless player. This game was selfish. Hush, I'll be very clear. I did not think that Jalen Brunson was selfish in this game. It goes back to what I think selfish means. To me, selfish means you are putting yourself first. I don't think that's what Jalen Brunson was doing. If anything, he was making poor decisions. I feel like we're arguing over semantics, but to me, when you call a bad, selfish is one of those, it's just one of those words that I think is particularly triggering for me when it comes to some players, because if you call a basketball player selfish, or that he was selfish, or you say he was being selfish, it implies that he did not put winning first. And I'm sorry, I'm just not there with you. Poor decision-making. Absolutely. I'll give you that. I may not agree with it. I'll give you that. Execution. Absolutely poor. I agree with that. I said it. I don't think it came from a place of selfishness, and I don't think he was being selfish. I don't know how to pronounce that. Appreciate the generous contribution. Yo, Macri, longtime lurker, big time fan of KFS. The doomerism from Knicks universe is unreal right now. However, what does Mike Brown or MB? People got to clarify: is it Mike Brown or Mikal Bridges? I think this is Mike Brown. Need to do to get the team to play more consistently on defense is missing a point of attack defender. All we're missing. Thank you, KFS. No doom. Yeah, like again, I always try to like meet the moment at the beginning of these games, which are clearly frustrating games, but like, that's very incredibly frustrating loss, most annoying loss of the season, the whole thing. I was trying not to make it doom and gloom. I don't know. Maybe I didn't do a good job of that. The reason why your question is so interesting to me is this has been the best defense in the league for the last 10 games by a significant margin. They've been the best defense in the league. So that to me said that they had solved their inconsistency on defense, those issues. If you want to be generous, and again, thank you for the contribution. I appreciate your longtime support. If you want to be generous, and I'm not saying anybody needs to be generous. If you want to be generous, you look at this game and you say it was a game before the All-Star, or I mean, essentially a game before the All-Star break or a day before the All-Star break. The team has been playing really well. They looked at the record of the team they had coming in. They said, this team is not going to hit shots. If we go out there and we kind of give it 80%, we'll probably be fine. And it wasn't fine. And I'm annoyed by it. And everybody's annoyed by it. Does it say anything about does tonight say anything about their character? Like the person from a couple comments ago who was like, I can't take this team seriously. Like, I'm not going that far. Like, tonight does not change what I think about this team. Like, I honestly, like, to me, the way they responded to that 2-9 stretch said more to me about this team than probably any stretch of regular season in the last year and a half. What did tonight tell us? Tonight told us that they didn't take it seriously enough. And then it bit them in the ass. Because the team that they were playing shot 40% from three. They shot 30% from three. And there it is. But Haitian with another one. The issue with Brown was mostly the timeout usage. I hate that Brunson was forced to take over. Slow pace kept us alive. Defense didn't produce many running chances, just bad. Yeah. I mean, it was bad all around. Bad loss, bad performance. They had opportunities. Obviously they had opportunities. If Landry Shamet makes that shot, we're having very different conversations, but that's always the case. It's often one shot, one way or the other. And tonight it didn't go in our favor. So you move on. It'd be great if they got to win tomorrow to put this one behind them. But again, if they don't get tomorrow, is that the end of the world? I doubt it, but ask me tomorrow, I guess. All right. Thanks, Hush, thanks, Haitian. And Hush with the last one. Good sparring session, J-Max. See you tomorrow. Let's go Knicks. Hush, I always appreciate you. I'm trying to keep you honest here. As you try to keep me honest. We keep each other honest, which is good. So appreciate that. And thank you for all the generosity. Again, Postgame Show would not exist without all of your comments. So we appreciate all of those. Please, everybody, if you enjoy what we do here at Knicks Film School, you could support the show by leaving a rating, a review. Probably not the best night to leave a review. You could also, what else? Follow us on social media at Knicks Film School, SKOOL. We have great content on Patreon and Substack as well. That's it. I'll be back for the postgame tomorrow night, and then be with DJ on Thursday night for an X's and O's, and then it's All-Star break, which I'm very excited about. You'll have content next week, but I will certainly be taking a little bit of a breather. So looking forward to that. Anyway, everybody enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your day tomorrow, and I will talk to you soon. Peace out.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.